Hello everyone! The Mask of Zorro turns 20 today. This is such an amazing film, and I want to briefly go over a retrospective. They were wanting to make a Zorro movie since the early 90s. Steven Spielberg had the production rights and originally wanted to direct it. He wanted an actor like Tom Cruise to play Zorro. It went through many rewrites and ended up getting the writer who did Aladdin, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Three Musketeers. They saw how Three Musketeers was at Disney, and they liked that type of adventure film. The years, of course, went on, and they got Martin Campbell to direct Mask of Zorro. He previously did GoldenEye, and he turned down Tomorrow Never Dies to direct this film. Raul Julia was originally supposed to be Don Diego de la Vega. Unfortunately, he passed away, so they had to find other actors. In honor of the actor, Anthony Hopkins took it upon himself to play the role of Don Diego de la Vega. And then we had Antonio Banderas cast as Alejandro, who would be the new Zorro in this film. Many actors were auditioning for the role of Zorro. And this is new. Supposedly there was other Latin Spanish actors that played Zorro before. Well, to me, this is the first mainstream, big actor, celebrity that has played Zorro. There's other Spanish actors, other Latino actors, but Antonio Banderas is a big name. He came fresh off of Desperado to do this, and to me, that was the first type of representation I saw of that character. You never had anybody of Spanish background or a Latino play Zorro. It was always a white guy pretending to be a Mexican. And because of that, I don't know, I felt like the representation wasn't there, and this brought it. We also have Catherine Zeta-Jones as Don Diego's daughter, Elena, and Steven Spielberg actually cast her after looking at her work on the TV Titanic. So, it's pretty much about an older Don Diego de la Vega, who's the main Zorro in all the mythos we have seen, and his nemesis, Rafael Montoya, knows his secret identity. They have one final confrontation before his wife dies. They imprison Zorro, and pretty much he steals his daughter Elena and basically raises her as his own. So this is basically a redemption revenge story. Also at the beginning we get to see Alejandro and his brother as kids. We fast forward so many years and we see Alejandro. He's a drunk, he's a thief. He doesn't have a noble life. Anyways, Rafael and Elena come from Spain back to Mexico, or should I say California at the time. There's that gold rush, and they want to basically get some gold behind Santa Anna's back. And it's about Zorro getting himself out of the jail. They think he's dead, and he ends up finding Alejandro, this man who works with Montoya, killed his brother, and he wants vengeance. So Don Diego de la Vega trains Alejandro to be the new Zorro, and that's pretty much what it is. It's almost like a Bambion type of thing, but you could definitely tell the influences of Zorro onto Batman with Tornado, the Batmobile, the cave, using his wealth to infiltrate different people's arena, basically, to find out what's going on and to help the common people, people who are oppressed. And they definitely have the essence of Zorro there. Bob Anderson also did the sword work for this film. He trained Errol Flynn, and he said that Antonio Banderas is probably one of the most gifted swordmen he has met since Errol Flynn. And Bob Anderson's no stranger to swords. I mean, he did the work for Lord of the Rings, Princess Bride, Empire Strikes Back, and Highlander. Those all have amazing sword fight sequences, and it's no wonder I like this film. The score is also really well done. James Horner does the score. You hear that usual trumpet sound he has in his soundtracks. That da-da-da-da. And it ends up becoming a romance story. Alejandro, in his quest for vengeance, then falls in love with Elena, and she learns the truth about her father being Zorro, and the truth about Rafael Montoya. And speaking of Rafael, he's played by Stuart Wilson. That man is a chameleon. I loved his performances in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 and Lethal Weapon 3. He does a fantastic job in this film. And yeah, there's a lot of great sequences, whether it be his first time as Zorro, meeting Tornado, Don Diego de la Vega and Alejandro's first meeting, the part where he's fighting the soldier, the cavalry guy, and there's this part where the sword moves, and Antonio Banderas saw the sunlight and how it had an effect on the sword. No CGI. They did this scene where the sword kind of has this sunlight reflected off of it. Just beautiful. Everything in this movie is just amazing. I still remember the first teaser trailer where it had this white background. It was like a light, and you see a man, kind of like a shadow, a silhouette walking across the screen, and you just see the Z go 20 years later, this is still such a fantastic film. The costuming and the set design was done by the same crew who worked on like Water for Chocolate. You definitely get that Mexican heritage, the culture in. It feels authentic. It doesn't feel like it's inaccurate, you know? Everything is done with great quality. And originally, Don Diego was supposed to live. He ends up dying at the end. But they also had an ending with Santa Anna being featured, but they end up going with a happy ending with Alejandro talking to him and Elena's daughter, talking about Zorro, like a book ending. And that was Steven Spielberg's idea. They filmed that about like 3 months after they finished principal photography before the film came out. And it's such a wonderful book, and as a standalone feature, this is great. Unfortunately, we had one sequel called The Legend of Zorro, which wasn't very good. I didn't like it. I had this theory about movies being either R or PG-13 and having a sequel with a lower rating, and they ended up going from PG-13 to PG on Legend of Zorro. I couldn't believe it was done by the same people. It doesn't have the same quality here. Everybody's like, let's be Californians, and then you have the guy with the wooden teeth. I know he had that kind of Bible religious complex, but the Zorro from this film would have kicked his ass. Legend of Zorro, even though it has its moments, was nowhere near Mask of Zorro and did not live up. And because of that, we did not have any more follow-ups, which is a shame. I really feel like this film allowed for 2 more films for a trilogy, and I really wish we got one. But nevertheless, 20 years later, Mask of Zorro is still a solid entry. Whether you take it with Legend of Zorro or on its own, it's still an amazing film. Not only as a Zorro film, but as a film, period. And it was a while since the last Zorro. I mean, you had like other films, Zorro the Gay Blade, so this definitely did have its homages. You also have homage to Zorro's butler, Don Diego de la Vega, takes his name and pretends to be a servant to Alejandro. He takes the name of his butler, which we've seen from like the Disney show. Elena, the name of his daughter, was the name of a love interest he had on the TV show. And I was a huge fan of the TV show on reruns on the Disney Channel, so it was kind of cool seeing a new Zorro that was updated. And they got Martin Campbell for that fact. They saw how he reinvented 007 James Bond, and they needed that for Zorro. Overall, I feel like this film could not have happened at any other time. It came out at the right time, and it was done with quality, practical effects. The scope of it is epic, and it's just a fun adventure film, a swashbuckling adventure, and I love it. So yeah, if you have never seen any of the Zorros, or more particular, Mask of Zorro, I highly recommend this film. Seriously, go see this. And Zorro in Spanish means fox, so the fox. So yeah, definitely see this. And if you have seen Mask of Zorro, what are your thoughts on it? Who's your favorite Zorro? What do you think about Antonio Banderas? I thought he rocked in this movie. Him and Anthony Hopkins were fantastic, and they almost did not use the famous bullwhip. Anthony Hopkins talked the director into using it. He thought it was vital, and I'm glad he did. They did some tricks with the bullwhip, and because of that, it adds more to that mystique of Zorro. Overall, it was very true to the mythos while doing something different and going forward with the future with a new character as Zorro. I heard there's going to be a reboot done by Alfonso Cuarón's son. Gael Garcia Bernal is going to be Zorro, and it might be like a post-apocalyptic Zorro, like a Mad Max Zorro. I don't know how that's going to turn out. I hope it's good, but if they ever did another reboot that was more traditional, I wouldn't mind them going over Don Diego de la Vega, the original Zorro. But it'd be interesting to see where the future lies with Zorro reboots. Definitely, though, this is an awesome film. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. You can also follow me on the Stardust app at Fred Film Fanatic. I'm going to definitely be having a reaction to Mask of Zorro. Like, comment, subscribe, and here's some more videos you can enjoy on my channel, other retrospectives. Tune in tomorrow for my 10-year anniversary of The Dark Knight.